Good morning and good offseason to Cavaliers fans all across the country. Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets coming at you on a Tuesday morning. It is 8:01 a.m., Jason, and this show, at least by the calendar, I fully anticipated us previewing an Eastern Conference Finals matchup against Boston. And for the reality check that we all received last week, the truth is that neither Cleveland nor Boston is playing in the Eastern Conference Finals this week. That honor belongs to Indiana, who beat Cleveland in 5 games, and New York, who beat the Celtics in 6. But Jason, we got a lot of stuff to dive into today. Koby Altman had his end of season presser yesterday. We have seen fake trades galore be thrown around, many of which do not even work under the current construction of the second apron and the current CBA, which we will dive into, plus the future of the core four. But I want to start with this. You were at Koby Altman's end of season press conference yesterday. You hopped on UCSS right afterwards, gave us a little instant reaction. But now that you've had 24 hours to marinate on what Koby said, and you've had a little bit of time to digest the overall comments from the head of basketball operations from the Cavs following their 5-game flameout against the Pacers in the playoffs, what is your biggest takeaway, and maybe the one thing that you're going to hang on to, one of Koby's words that you will hang on to as we head into the offseason, as we try and predict what Cleveland may do with their roster, with their coaching staff, with all the moving pieces that make an organization click at the highest level? What do you anticipate, and what's the thing you're going to be hanging on to the most from Koby Altman's comments?
Probably when he said we have to get mentally tougher. And I think we can debate what exactly that means. He took it as he said it in reference to like getting the box out and the offensive rebound at the foul line at the end of game 2 and getting the ball over half court, getting the ball inbounded at the end of game 2. He really labored on game 2 and how that's going to haunt them for a while. So, I think he was pretty honest, and I wasn't terribly surprised by anything that he said overall in the day. I expected him to say, we're going to keep this group together and run it back. But the mentally tougher thing, a couple of things I thought was interesting. I'm writing something for The Athletic on this. It's something you and I have discussed at length. This team will be at its best when Evan is the lead dog on this team. And Koby sort of made reference to that as well yesterday. And he said Darius has to get physically stronger to withstand, some of the pounding that comes over the course of the season, and particularly in the playoffs. But the mentally tougher thing sort of encompasses all of that stuff a little bit. And, I asked him, how do you relate that to playing through injuries? And he didn't really address it specifically. He said, in the midst of his answer, he said, Evan did play through that, to your point. He had a pretty badly sprained ankle and he did play through it. And that was really the only part that he touched in terms of where I was going with it. He knew where I was going with it. And he just said that they had a lot of unfortunate luck with some of this stuff, and pointed to how healthy they were during the regular season and the plan they had in place. And, we sort of talked about it a little bit when I did the hit with you guys yesterday. It feels disingenuous to me to praise them for having this plan in place and then to come back and bang them for it because it didn't work.
Yeah.
I think that they went about it the right way. You pointed out Darius played in 71 games. A career high for him. Donovan, I looked yesterday. I didn't realize it was his first time. Donovan this year played in the most games he's played in like 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we can debate the minutes thing. And should they play more minutes? They probably could stand to go up a tick or two on the minutes. But overall, I think that they handled it the right way. It didn't work. And now you got to figure out. That's where, for me, the mental toughness goes back to, hey, when you're not feeling well, when it hurts, you got to play through it anyway. And I thought what Channing, RJ, and Kendrick down that road tripping pod, that 11-minute clip, I mean, they were harder on them than anything I've written or said or anything I've seen. And these are former players telling you, hey, 3 guys can't sit in game 2. I thought that was really poignant the way RJ put it at the end. I don't know if anyone's seen the clip or not, or if there's a way we can link it or anything. But RJ at the end was like, you can't sit there and go, wait a minute, one of us has to go. We can't all sit out. Like, somebody's got to go. And that was really a turning point in the series was game 2, and those guys sitting and then gagging the game away in that last minute. It flipped everything.
I'll get back to the Mobley point in a sec because that's the big takeaway I had. But it's funny, Jason, because we did praise the Cavs all season for restricting minutes, load managing, handling it right. And they enter the postseason relatively healthy. And that is the goal. We could debate all we want about everything else. The goal is to enter the postseason healthy. The Knicks, who now are healthy this season, got completely banged up, injured, and their season got derailed by injuries against the Pacers last year. And Tibbs and Atkinson run their ships completely different. Thibodeau plays guys an incredible amount of minutes in the regular season, sometimes asinine, in my opinion, regular season minutes. And even go back to this Cavaliers team last year with J.B. Bickerstaff at the helm. The Cavs got hurt in the second round of the playoffs. They were banged up by Donovan was out. Jarrett was out. They were hurt. And JV played a lot of minutes, which goes to show you there is not a right or a wrong way to handle it. And injuries, completely unfortunate, but a lot of times unlucky. And there's nothing you could do. You could take all the right necessary steps in the lead up, and then a freak accident. You land on someone's foot. You sprain a toe. I don't even know how you sprain a toe in basketball when you have a shoe on. I honest to God have no idea how that even happens, but clearly it does. DeAndre, that was an easy one to see and probably avoidable if not for a borderline, I don't want to call it dirty because he was making a play on the ball, but a physical play that resulted in DeAndre spraining a thumb. So unfortunate circumstances, but there's not a right or wrong way to go about it in the regular season. And I do think they could probably uptake the minutes a little bit. Instead of going 31, maybe they play 33. But listen, if these guys are playing 37, 38 minutes next year, we're going to be killing them. I'm telling you right now, G, and a lot of people online will be killing them when Donovan gets hurt or Darius gets hurt up 17 in the fourth quarter because they're trying to get to that 34-minute threshold. So there's not a right or wrong way. But the big takeaway, Jason, I'm glad you touched on this because we didn't hit on it enough yesterday during UCSS, was Koby outwardly admitting that Evan Mobley has to be the best player on the Cleveland Cavaliers if they're going to reach a championship level. This is no disrespect to Donovan Mitchell. He is an incredible basketball player. But Koby said, you've said it, I've said it. We have 8 years of proof that as Donovan as your best player, you are going to struggle to get out of the second round of the playoffs. And
well, Koby didn't say that, but you and I said that.
I thought Koby said we've seen 8 years of it now, and that's why we need Evan to take the next step. Or is that you saying it after what Koby said yesterday?
Yeah, I think that was me saying it. I don't think Koby directly said that.
Then you and I said it, and Koby at least alluded to the fact that Evan.
Koby did allude to the fact Evan has to be.
Let me rephrase. Koby, I apologize. I confused what Jason said. I'm going to start over. Ready? Men in Black button. Boop. We all forgot it. 3, 2, and 1. Jason, the big thing I took away from the press conference yesterday, the number one thing was Koby's acknowledgement of the fact that Evan Mobley has to take another leap, not just from good player to all-star, all-NBA caliber like we saw this year, but another leap of that same distance, for lack of a better word, from all-NBA guy, second-team all-NBA guy to top 10, top 5 player in the league guy. You and I have said it time and time before. No one else has said it, but you and I have definitely said that Donovan Mitchell is an incredible basketball player. He's an all-NBA caliber player. He should make all-NBA first team this season. He should be in the MVP bottom of the ballot conversation without a doubt, 100%. And he elevated his game in the playoffs like no one else on Cleveland did, point blank, period. But we have 8 years of proof now, Jason, that Donovan Mitchell, as your number one player, has a ceiling. And that ceiling is he can get you to the second round of the playoffs, and then he needs some help to beat some of the other best teams in basketball. And look at the history of the league. Little guards struggle to be the best player on a championship team. It takes the most special of special talents in the history of the world at basketball. Stephen Curry, Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
The last 30 years, those are the only two undersized guards that have been the best player on championship teams.
Along that line, not to interrupt you, I'm curious to see what happens with the Knicks and Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, that's a fascinating point. It's another fascinating case study. And right now, if you were picking the better player, Mitchell or Brunson, who would you take right now, Jason? Just out of curiosity.
That's so hard. I mean, a lot of people take Brunson.
I don't think there's a wrong answer. I honestly don't think there's a wrong answer.
I think I'm biased because I watch Don play every night. So I would probably still take Donovan, but I know there's a lot of people that would take Jalen.
I don't think there's a wrong answer. They get to their spots a little differently, but both lethal scorers. And Brunson could be that third player, Jason. That third small, undersized guard to lead a team to a championship, but he's also surrounded by 6'5" and above freakishly athletic wings, which helps mitigate some of the defensive issues. But back to the Donovan Evan point. If Donovan's your second best player, you have an elite talent on your roster. And I've said this since the day he was drafted. You and I have been in agreement. We were proven right this season. Evan has a chance to be in that elite category. He took a big step forward this year. I still think he has a ton of room to grow offensively. And I think it was coaching and organizational malpractice to see his usage rate, despite the fact he got hurt, and I know that plays a factor, dropped by 8 points in the playoffs. It went from 23 to 16, so 7 points, excuse me. That has to go up. And when the Cavs were relying so much on jump shots, I would have loved to have seen them feed the ball inside and let Mobley go to work on some of these switches. And even if they didn't switch, I like my chances with Mobley on Siakam or Mobley on Turner to at least generate a good shot, force the defense to collapse. The Cavaliers need Evan Mobley to turn into the player we were promised, the unicorn, whatever terminology you want to use, Jason, not just on the defensive end, but on the offensive end as well. And if he can do that, and Donovan slides into the 1B role instead of the 1A role, they're both A1 caliber players. I'm not trying to diminish Donovan by this at all. But when you have a big that can dominate in the way I believe Evan at some point can dominate, it makes Donovan's life so much easier, Jason. And that's the balance that I think Cleveland has to figure out this summer to get into a chance to win a championship next year. It has to be on Evan.
And I think it will be. I think he will make another leap. Koby did mention he's got to take more than 13 shots in a playoff game. And I think we saw that evolution begin this year, and I think it'll continue next year. That's a big – to the Cavs' credit, they never hid the fact that Kenny Atkinson was here to unlock Evan. They said that from Kenny's introductory press conference, that it was his job to figure out Evan. And they have talked up Evan since training camp, since they introduced Kenny, as this is how we're going to go and this is how it's going to be. And they've delivered on that part of it. They've delivered in terms of Evan's development and growth. And now there's more steps to take. And when that happens, it turns out to this point, we're still kind of right. You and I both said there'll be a championship team when Evan's the best player on the team. Well, he's not quite the best player on the team yet. And look what happened again.
Yeah. Jason, we're going to touch on this in the UCSS show, but I want your opinion real quick because you touched on it earlier as well. But Koby said the Cavs' toughness issues were more mental than they were physical. He gave stats. He pointed to the fact that they won the possession battle, out-rebounded Indiana, all the box score hustle stats that you can kind of quantify.
Yeah.
Real quick, and you don't have to spend a ton of time on this. Do you believe the Cavs' toughness issues were more mental than physical? More physical than mental, or
both?
For both.
I think it's both. And I hear what he's saying. I hear the case he's trying to make. I just don't buy it when Nembhard is pushing around your guys and laughing at them. When Siakam and Miles Turner are throwing around your biggest player like they were, it is a physical toughness issue as well. And, Jarrett has to be – and, I said it at the end of last year, I thought they should have moved on from him. I said it after they lost this series. Thought they should have moved on from him. I get why they say they're not. I get why they probably won't, just because of where they're at with the cap and the apron and everything else. But your biggest dude on the floor is not anywhere close to being an enforcer, and that's problematic. And I do think that this team is soft, physically, mentally, all of it. And this is just another step in that. And we've had the discussion on the show. How do you learn how to be tough? Well, you're soft until you're not soft. And RJ, again, going back to that pod at the end, said if you don't bite as a puppy, you're not going to bite as a dog. And they're turning into dogs, and they still aren't biting. And I thought that was pretty eye-opening. And maybe he's right. I tend to think that this is devastating for those guys in that locker room.
Oh yeah.
This last week has been devastating. And that's what toughens you up is life's obstacles, and life knocking you down is how you toughen up. And we'll see, I wrote about it today. I know we'll probably get to some of this in a minute, but 3 years is their championship window right now, and that's a long time in the NBA. But the way that this thing is structured, it puts the executives and the decision makers to a pressure point earlier than it ever did before. So you have to make decisions fast, stay together, break it up, and then you have this entire season to let it play out. But you got to make the decision fast. And they've made the decision that they're going to roll with these guys. They, at this point, appear to have made the decision that they're just going to roll with this group. And we'll see if it's the right decision or not. But the pain and the heartbreak of this year, if anything can toughen them up, this is what's going to do it. Because if it doesn't work again this year, now you're down to 1 year. And now I don't see how you can possibly continue to just run it back as is. So, 3 years is a long time, but at the same time, one of those years is gone and now you're down to 2. And if you're going to run it back with the same group again, you're really shortening your window to make changes if you come to the decision that you need to make changes.
Fascinating stuff that Koby Altman has to figure out this offseason. Before we get to our next topic, Jason, a quick reminder, today's show is brought to you by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with them, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until right now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand that offers a wide range of products, from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location is in Shaker Heights, but they have 5 brick and mortar stores across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first, so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect, simplify, and adapt. Those are the core values that make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, head to buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. So, Jason, as we approach the dog days of summer, the fake trade machines are in full swing. Koby Altman said yesterday at his end-of-season press conference that he doesn't believe a major change is coming. This is a man that put together this version of the core 4. He was the one that had the initial vision. He traded all the assets to get Donovan Mitchell. He extended Darius, Donovan, Evan, and Jarrett. So I can see how he thinks it is the practical and smart move to keep the core that he envisioned together. I know a lot of fans disagree with that, and we're going to talk about some hypothetical trades that have made their way around the interweb of late that have sparked.
Oh, Lord.
And we're going to explain why most of these are completely unrealistic, not just based on the player-for-player trades, but because none of them work under the second apron. But Jason, real quick, in 1 minute or less, if the Cavs decide to run it back with the core 4, if Koby Altman decides not to make a major change, and I know you just said you'd all be in favor of moving Jarrett Allen just because you want to shake things up, but if the decision is we are running it back with the majority of this roster, would Koby be crazy? Would he have some validity behind that reasoning? Or how would you look at the decision from the Cavaliers to basically run it back for a third year?
I don't know if I'm going to answer that directly, to me, they made the decision to run it back when they traded for DeAndre Hunter. That was when they locked in. Remember when they signed Jarrett to the extension, they did it just in time to where they could still move him if they needed to at the deadline. And instead they pivoted the other way. Obviously they had an incredible regular season. And when they traded for DeAndre Hunter, we talked about how it got them out of the tax for this year. So it kicked that can down the road, but it established them, it fortified them as a second apron team next year. And that is where it sort of got locked in to me that they were probably going to keep this team intact. I wrote that after they lost the Pacers series. The die has been cast. The die was cast for this team when DeAndre Hunter showed up. So you can argue if it's the right or wrong move. I wouldn't trade Jarrett just to shake things up. It has to be a move that makes sense, and that's part of the reason I think why he's going to be back is I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. It's easy for me to say I don't know how you can bring Jarrett back, and I mean that. But at the same time, I don't know that there's like Boston, what a great move. And at the time, I kind of scratched my head and said, does it make him better or not? And what a dumb thing to say, because the Marcus Smart for Porzingis move made them infinitely better. And it was a smart move at the exact right time. I don't know that move exists right now for the Cavs. I haven't seen it yet. No one's shown it to me yet where, two sides got to line up on a trade. And just because you may like a player doesn't mean that team wants to trade him. Yep. The Lakers desperately need a center. does Rui Hachimura alone make the Cavs that much better than Jared Allen?
No.
I don't know. I mean, it makes Evan the center, which is, I think they're at their best when he's at the 5. But I don't know that it makes them infinitely better as a team. It doesn't unlock a new level like, the Porzingis Marcus Smart trade did for Boston. So that's why I don't know if I answered that right or not. But once they made the Hunter trade, it sort of locked in who they are and who they're going to be for this year and for next year.
So, Jason, I'm not sure you were on the show the day I proposed my favorite trade thus far that I think makes sense for both teams, works under the cap. And it's the one deal I've seen that if this was offered, I would pull the trigger. But Jared Allen to Houston for Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr. Both of those guys, long athletic wings, entering the final year of their contracts. Steven Adams is an unrestricted free agent. We saw in the playoffs against Golden State, Houston went to the 2-big lineup. You could switch Jared Allen in for Steven Adams, which is an upgrade, gives you a little more flexibility with Şengün. And it gives Houston an opportunity to lock a center in under a very reasonable contract as they continue to build around their young core without having to break the bank for either Jabari Smith or Tari Eason. And that would give the Cavs 2 athletic wings that can play the 3, the 4. Jabari Smith could even play a little bit of the 5. That's a deal I like that works under the cap because it's $18.5 million coming to Cleveland and $20 million heading to Houston.
Yeah, I was on the show that day. I remember you mentioning that. That's not bad. I don't know if Houston, what their interest level would be in Jared. See, part of me thinks a non-shooting big is not going to demand a lot in a trade. And at the same time, put some of the physicality issues aside, I do think that there are teams that like Jarrett.
100%.
His contract is good. It's a good contract. It's not immovable. So I think it's going to come down to taster's choice with some of these teams and who likes him and who doesn't.
It's funny. Jared makes $20 million this year, and then his extension kicks in for $30 million the next couple of years.
Yeah,
Jared at $30 million, if the extension was 1 year earlier, is a lot easier to trade and a lot easier to put together packages that make sense for both sides than it is at $20 million. And Darius Garland, the other player that a lot of people have thrown into trade rumors, is at $40 million, and it's hard to find a trade partner that wants a point guard that has the assets to combine to get to $40 million for Darius. So it's funny that both of these extensions, they're at the low end and the high end of the spectrum. But Jason, the first deal I want to throw out to you came from Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo. And I'm going to present this to you. I want your opinion. And then I will explain the backside of this because we're going to talk about it on UCSS as well today. But this made all the noise on social media yesterday in a vacuum because this does not work under the current cap. This deal that I'm going to tell you about from Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo, let me reemphasize, does not work under the cap.
Yeah, everybody's talking about it anyway.
It does not work. It could work if the Cavs make 13 other moves beforehand, and I'll explain those to you in a sec. But in a vacuum, Jason, where this would work, if Milwaukee called Cleveland and said Giannis for Mobley straight up, what would you say?
Okay, so here's a complicated. I hate doing these because it's not ever going to happen.
That's why I love doing these with you because I know you hate them.
Oh, it drives me crazy. This is fantasy world. Of course, Giannis is a top 3-5 player in the league. Yes, you would make that deal.
Okay.
In a vacuum. Yes, like whatever vacuum you want. And there is one thing that I do think needs discussed here because I saw something about Darius for Drew Holiday, and everyone's like, "Oh my God!"
That one makes no sense either. We saw Jarrett for Draymond Green. That also does not work under the cap.
But here's an important point that I do think needs at least pointed out. The pushback I saw in Holiday was like, "Oh my God, why would you trade Darius for a 35-year-old point guard?" I get it. I understand what you're saying, but I do think you need to stop looking at this as we have this young core that's going to have all this time to grow together. And you need to look at this as you have 2 years to win. So if you have to trade a young guy with a bright future for an older veteran, I'm not saying do Garland for Holiday. It's not what I'm saying. But I don't think that you need – I think we're past the point of just outright dismissing moves because a guy's getting older in his career. That's what – ideally, this team needs somebody who's a little bit older, who's been around a little bit. Go back to the championship era. RJ and Channing were like the veteran dudes who'd been around for a while, and Mike Miller and James Jones and Sean Marion. Like, this team could use some veterans outside of just Tristan and Max, some guys who have been through some wars and have seen a thing or two. That's not so much a bad thing. So I think we need to get past this. Why would you break up this? Because I don't know. And that's the one area where I think I disagree with Koby, was like, he said, we have this long runway and we're going to contend this year and next year and the year after. I'm like, well, hold on. Like, I don't know what magic beans you've got in your pocket, but, and maybe they just continue to knock out of the park drafting, developing, and they turn into the Warriors, who they just find these guys. And maybe that's how this goes. But unless that's it, you have 2 years to win with this group, and that's it. So stop looking at trades as, why would we trade a 23-year-old for a 33-year-old? Because you have to maximize these next 2 years if you're trying to win a championship. Now, getting that out of the way, yes, of course, you would trade Evan Mobley for Giannis straight up 1-for-1 if this is Major League Baseball and there was no salary cap or anything else. But I also think having, let's live in that same vacuum. Milwaukee can get so much more for Giannis from other teams than what Cleveland can offer. Like, let's start there. And then let's add into the fact, who owns the Milwaukee Bucks?
Jimmy.
Why is Jimmy going to help bring Cleveland a championship that doesn't have to do with the Browns? Why would he do that? People already don't like him.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to help the Cavs win another title so people can come back at him and say, you incompetent buffoon? Like, they've now got 2 and you can't even get out of your own way, and you're still paying Deshaun Watson. And like, I mean, they would thank him in a mocking way of, hey, thanks, Jimmy, for Giannis. Ha, ha, ha. I don't see any world where Jimmy Haslam helps the Cavs win a championship. Why would he? So, I mean, what are we talking about here? The owner's not going to be on board with it. The team can get plenty more. Look at Houston, Oklahoma City, and San Antonio. Look at the packages they can put together versus Evan Mobley straight up for Giannis 1-for-1 in a deal that doesn't even work. Yeah. So what are we doing here?
So let me explain to people why that deal doesn't work, because I love Russillo and Simmons. I think they do a really good job on basketball podcasts, but you can't throw a deal out there with those names that is going to get aggregated. That doesn't even work. Mobley's projected salary next year, Jason, $46.4 million. Giannis's projected salary next year, $54.1 million. Because the Cavs are a second apron team, they cannot take on a single penny more than they're sending out. And unless my math is incorrect, $54 million is a lot more than $46.5 million.
Yeah.
So you're out of there. The Cavs can't aggregate salaries to match, so they can't put Mobley plus somebody.
Right.
If they really want to get creative, the Cavs would have to get to about $20 million under the cap before making a deal, which means unloading Okoro and Wade to a team with cap space. First off, how many teams want to take 2 years of Isaac Okoro at $11 million when you can't really have an asset to attach to him, because the Cavs don't have assets to attach at the moment?
There is no value on that Okoro contract. None.
Yes. Literally negative value. So you have to give another pick, some seconds, whatever. I don't see a team doing that. Then you have to find a team to do the same thing for Dean Wade, who I think has more value at $6.5 million on his contract as opposed to Isaac with 11. So those two things have to happen before you can even get into a financial spot to make that deal. And then let's say that did happen, right, Jason? Let's say you did make those two deals, got under the cap, were able to trade Mobley for Giannis straight up. Then you would have about $1.2 million to sign 6 players to fill out your roster, because you can't legally play a basketball game with 8 guys on your roster. So you need 6 spots to fill with $1 million. Tristan Thompson's making the league minimum right now, a veteran's minimum. 6 Tristan Thompsons would be about $9 million. You have to do that for $1 million. That means you're literally signing guys like me and you. And I don't think that's even possible under the CBA. I think there's literally a minimum. So we could slice and dice it about how you want. Giannis for Mobley's not happening. Giannis for Garland and Allen, there's once again 3 different pathways you have to turn down first to put Cleveland in a situation to where you can make a deal like that. But once again, if you're Milwaukee, would you rather have the number 2 overall pick in this draft, 2 young pieces, another draft pick or 2, or 2 guys that Cleveland and Cleveland fans can't wait to ship out of here? Like, for one of the 3 best players in the world. I don't see that deal happening. The Drew Holiday deal for Darius Garland was proposed by Bobby Marks on Ken and Lima show a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. And in a vacuum, once again, Jason, this one does technically work under the cap. you have that 2-year window, but Jrue Holiday this year was not the Jrue Holiday of last year. And a guy with his body, the injury history, his play style, I love Jrue Holiday. I don't know how much more he has left.
Yeah.
I think that contract could be an albatross for Boston. And I'm not sure how much value he has. And even though Darius Garland has his own flaws, and I think Jrue is a better fit next to Donovan in terms of just being a traditional point guard, more defensive capabilities, yada, yada. I'm not confident he can stand and last 82 games plus a playoff run. Again, he was hurt in this playoffs. And then the Draymond deal, Draymond for Jared Allen. This one was proposed by John Hollinger, your coworker, Jason. This one to me makes no sense. First off, it doesn't work under the cap. Can't happen. Second off, we want Evan Mobley to take this next step forward, right, Jason?
Yeah.
Do you know what hurts Evan Mobley's development?
Draymond.
Another guy in the court that wants to do exactly what Evan does and probably does it better as currently constructed than Evan, which means Evan gets relegated to being a corner three-point shooter, which stunts his growth. And if you want to say, well, oh, no, Evan would get those opportunities, not Draymond. You're going to put Draymond in the corner and let him just shoot. That's what you want? You want the guy that looks like he's shooting jump shots with a backpack on to be the guy spacing the floor in the corner for all these drives, cuts, and stuff that the Cavaliers love to run? No. Like, yeah, it's an attitude adjustment. Yeah, he's a dog. He's a great defender, and him and Mobley in the front court together defensively would be awesome. There are some positives here, but that would just put a giant stunt on Evan Mobley's growth. And I think if there's anything the Cavs do with any move this summer, it cannot be in any way, shape, or form a prohibitive from Evan Mobley developing into the guy they need him to be. So those are just a couple of the trades that we've seen floated out that got some attention that I just think are absolutely blasphemous.
It's the silly season. There's going to be 100 more of these. Ultimately, yes, ideally, I do think that they should move on from Jarrett, but I don't hate the move that you threw out with Houston. But there's not a ton of pathways to move these guys. And we've known that for a while. This isn't a surprise. So hope for better luck next year in the playoffs and see what they can do.
We got one last read to get to, Jason. We have a new sponsor on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It is Skylight Calendars. Say goodbye to sticky notes, scribbled plans on the fridge, and overlapping calendar invites. The Skylight Calendar is here to bring clarity to the chaos and help families stay organized without the stress. This sleek digital display syncs with your existing calendars, Google, Apple, Outlook, and more, making it simple to track appointments, practices, dinners, and reminders all in one place to see. What would it mean to eliminate the I don't know excuse from your family's routine? Listen, if I got away with saying I don't know more than twice in a week, I think I'd be executed, Jason. So the Skylight Calendar makes my life a lot easier. And right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendar by going to skylightcal.com/NFL. That is skylightcal.com/NFL for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That is Skylight, SKYLIGHT, CAL.com/NFL. Jason, we'll put a bow on this Ultimate Cavs show here in a second, but when you look forward in this playoffs, Knicks, Pacers, OKC, and Minnesota, we talked about this on the show yesterday, but I'm curious in your opinion. Is there anything the Cavs can learn from those four teams, can take away from those four teams to help put them in a better position to win it all next year?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think that they just need to be healthy going in the playoffs and learn how to fight through when things hurt. But I don't look at Indiana and New York and think like the way that Minnesota's constructed is totally separate from the Cavs.
Yep.
So what are you going to learn from them? The Knicks play a totally different brand of basketball. You just got your ass beat by the Pacers. Maybe that's what you learned. Don't get your ass beat by the Pacers next year. But Oklahoma City, I think OKC is going to win it all. It's just my opinion. But I don't know that there's anything that they can study from these four teams and say that's what we want to be or that's what we want to do. Am I missing something?
No, we did this on the show yesterday. I said, first and foremost, they're the four healthiest teams. I know Kobe pointed that out yesterday.
Oh, we did point that out yesterday, yeah.
When Jokic and the Nuggets lost Game 7, someone asked Jokic, hey, if you were the GM, what do you think this team needs? And he said, we just need more guys that we can play in a playoff series. And I went through and I counted. And the Cavs had unbelievable depth during the regular season. They were able to play 10, 11 guys that everyone contributed. In the playoffs, Jason, I think you can count 4 guys on the Cavs. You're like, okay, those are playoff guys for sure. And then the rest, you have your question marks.
I would say more than 4. You think 4? Just the 4?
I don't have Jared Allen in that category.
Oh, all right. So it's Max and the other 3.
And Hunter, and I think I changed it to 5. I think I would put Hunter in there too.
I would definitely put Hunter in there.
5. Okay, so you have 5, and I'm sorry, I just can't trust Jared Allen right now to be a guy that when push comes to shove, I can trust in a playoff series.
I mean, yeah, I'm the one saying that get him off the roster. I don't know how you can bring him back. But man, I go back and forth on him.
Listen, Jared Allen's awesome, and he's a great regular season player, and he may prove me wrong. I'm just saying right now, gun to my head, if you said, can you trust Jared Allen in a playoff series? My answer is no. It's 3 years in a row, Jason.
I'm actually going to put Ty in that category. And I know that sounds insane because he has had the worst series of all time. But they were also asking him to do a lot more than what he's capable of doing. So if you have Ty in a role, I mean, Ty is fearless. Yeah. And that's a lot of the playoff is, are you scared of the moment? And Ty Jerome is not afraid of the moment, almost to a detriment. Like maybe he should be a little bit more than what he is. But if he's playing 15, 18 minutes in a playoff game, 15, 16 minutes in a playoff game, I'm okay with that. It's when he's playing 25, 26 minutes, when he's taking 20 shots is where he's getting out of his depth a little bit.
Do you remember in the lead up to the playoffs? It may have been right before I sat down with Ty. And I was like, I have a little bit of hesitation that Ty's a playoff guy because of the unique style he plays at. It's a change-up. It's like a knuckleball, right?
Yeah.
If you face a knuckleballer 4 times in a row, you're going to get a good sense of the knuckleball. And Ty plays at this slow, deliberate pace that when you're used to playing against Darius's and Donovan's and De'Aaron Fox and these guys that play fast, and all of a sudden you have this guy who's moving in slow motion. It's really tough to adjust. And for one game when you're going right back and forth from fast, slow, it works. In the course of a 7-game series, when you're scouted and teams get a better feel, I don't know. He's in the I don't know category.
You might be right.
The Cavs have a lot of guys in the I don't know category.
Yeah.
And my point was, you look at OKC, you look at Minnesota, you look at the Knicks, and you look at the Pacers. They all have at least 6 guys, 6 to 8, that I say, you know what, in a playoff series, they may not play great every game, but I know I can go to war with these guys. And I got to 4.5, 5, and then a bunch in the I don't know category. So that was the one thing. The other thing I think we could look at, Jason, the point of attack defense and the physicality of which the guards play defense. Caruso, Jalen Williams, Dort, SGA, Kason Wallace, those dudes battle and beat the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Nembhard, Nesmith, not so much Halliburton. He's not in that category, but McConnell. Those guards beat the crap out of you. With the Knicks, it's not Brunson, and he's really their only traditional guard, but their point of attack defense, because of their lineup, is often Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Miles Bridges. They beat the crap out of you. In Minnesota, Conley, not physical, but you got Ant Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, and Dante DiVincenzo. And Nikhil Walker-Alexander. Beat the crap out of you. If you're looking at anything from a truly basketball standpoint that say, what do these 4 teams do, I think, very well that Cleveland doesn't? Cleveland's best point of attack defender is Isaac Okoro. He can't play in a playoff series. I'm sorry. He cannot be on the court in a playoff series. And I don't think Donovan, Darius, for as good as they are at other things, are particularly great in that measure of defense. The Cavaliers' whole defensive philosophy is funnel guys into Evan Mobley and Jared Allen and let them clean up the mess. I think they have to get better at point of attack defense and just become more physical on that end of the court to give themselves a shot at winning 16 games in a playoff situation.
And see that, I don't know, when we talk about toughness and can you develop toughness, I don't like that is never going to be Darius's game. That's never going to be Donovan's game. Never. So I don't know what you do with
it. Was Donovan's game in college, by the way. That's the funny part. He came out of Louisville as a defender, not known for his offense. And obviously he developed into an incredible offensive player.
Yeah.
But I don't want Donovan hounding guys 94 feet because I need his offense. So I think he can do it. It'll never be in Darius's game. I do think Donovan can do it. I don't want him doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. To that point, that's never going to change. They are who they are.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Jason? Are we good for today? And we will see you on Thursday here for some. Speaking of toughness, we're going to do a topic on toughness, whether or not you can or can't coach it. I'm just telling the world right now. We're going to do that topic. And I've talked to a couple guys from the NBA. Jay talked to a couple guys from Major League Baseball and the NFL. Jason, I'm going to ask you to text some of your people. Complete anonymity. What's the word? Anonymity. Yes. But we'll read some of the answers to whether or not people at high positions, executives, coaches, assistants, all that stuff, believe you can coach toughness, or if it's something a player has inherited or not. So we're going to do that on Thursday. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. But for now, we got to run. We'll be back with you in 2 hours and 19 minutes on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We got Joe Schobert, former Browns linebacker, making his UCSS debut today. And also we have some quarterback early depth chart discussions to have. And Deshaun Watson is ahead of rehab schedule. What does that mean for the Browns? Jason, I appreciate you hopping on this morning, talking some Cavs, and I will see you on Thursday.
See you guys.